What's up, Adam?
It's all simple, Tommy. It's all simple.
It's all simple, man.
Come on. Simple solutions, simple selling. I did some simple skiing this weekend, a simple Super Bowl, even though I don't like the Eagles.
Yep. I'm going on a simple vacation next week, so you're going to have to record a podcast without me next week.
Thank goodness. If it's just me, it will not be simple, folks. So maybe don't tune in next week. Yeah, so we appreciate you who've been watching us, who've been listening to us. We've taken this in a different direction over the last 6 weeks or so. We're bringing on a guest. We have one here today. Ben will let him introduce himself in a moment. We bring that guest on. We conduct this in kind of like a Q&A session, micro coaching. So hopefully you can learn from what we go over with our guest, and then our guest can take away some really good insights for what they're doing. So with that, why don't, Ben, you introduce who you are and what you do to the audience?
So thanks for having me. I am Ben Bresloff. I am the owner of Inspect Ova. I am a residential and commercial property inspector. So I do anything from top to bottom on properties, from the roof all the way down to the foundation. I am also a mold assessor as well for New York State, and I also perform sewer and septic camera inspections as well.
Oh, interesting. So where's the best place for people to find you or engage with you directly?
I'm all over Google. You do a Google search. I'm on there. A little bit of social media, which I kind of have been pretty bad at keeping up with. But I am on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Great. And where would they find you on Instagram?
Instagram, it's Inspect Ova is the name of the company. INSPCTOVA.
Great. And we'll have that in the show notes so people can connect with you there, follow your journey, see what you're up to, and hopefully use you if they need you as well. So, Ben, the floor is yours. You have both Tom and I here. You know our background. You know what we do to a certain extent. So what questions do you have about your business journey, you being the CEO, selling, any of those things that we can help give you some insights on?
Yeah, so I am new to the inspection world. This is my first business that I have ever owned. I have been in the construction field for about over 20 years. Last 15 years being in HVAC. So I also enjoy helping people. So I've taken helping people and my construction background to now open up this business, right? So it being my first business, I struggle a bit with the back end of stuff, really with figuring out what I should prioritize myself with, what I need to focus on before going to something else. I like to look at the whole picture and not the little bit of picture. So I struggle with that.
Quite honestly, it's kind of normal for a new business owner because, especially if you've worked for other companies before, because most of those things were already done. You kind of show up, punch the clock, and you do what you were hired to do while all those other things magically took place, right? And now you entered this wonderful world of being a business owner and an entrepreneur, and all those things do not take place unless, guess who does them? You, right? So when you say you like to look at the big picture, there's a key that you have to understand with being a business owner is that you now have two major jobs, okay? And this is not about the CEO thing that I do, Tom, but you have two major jobs. It's working in your business and working on your business. So we have a saying as entrepreneurs that we're the only people crazy enough to work 80 so we don't have to work 40 for somebody else. And what that 40 is usually split up into is 40 hours of working on your business and 40 hours of working in your business. Now, those are just hypothetical numbers. Whatever yours are for you and your business, that's up to you. But there is a very clear separation of times when you're doing in and times when you're doing on. So you do not have the option to pick which of those are priorities because they both are. What we challenge most people to do is find how does it work for them best in their lives. So I don't know if you have a family or anything, but hopefully you have a personal life. So you have to manage your life. You have to manage in your business, on your business, and if you have employees, them too. So what we have to do is carve up our days and our weeks and our months to allow for all those things to take place. And you certainly cannot eliminate time for yourself. Otherwise, why the heck are we running a business? Isn't that kind of the whole point, to enjoy our lives too? How do you separate either your day or your week with working in the business and on the business right now?
Well, time I feel like is limited, for me, so that's what I really struggle. Like, what do I focus on first, before moving to something else?
Good. So the first thing that any business has to focus on are the three big ones. It's prospecting, sales, and then delivering whatever you sold. So without that, there's no need to do anything else. And what most people do is they're like, hey, I got to really build a great website and I need fancy brochures and I have to get uniforms that are perfect before I sell a job. Well, that is important, but it's not as important as getting prospects, doing the sales, and then actually delivering the work that you've sold. Once you have the ability to go out and work that is in the business, okay, that will cause all the things you have to work on your business about. You'll find the problems. So there is no perfect direction that you can take to set your business up. There are ideal ways to do it. Those ideal ways come usually with unlimited money and time. And guess what you don't have? Unlimited money and time. So instead of doing it ideal, we have to get it started. So how long have you been actively in business selling your home inspections?
About a year and 3 months.
Okay, great. So do you have a very good way to go out and prospect and sell, or are you still developing that?
I'm still developing that as well.
Okay, so now what is getting in your way that your cause for concern is? What do I prioritize? What is a bottleneck that you're currently seeing?
Well, I'm doing the home inspection business right now part-time. I'm doing the HVAC full-time. So, doing the HVAC full-time during the day and really trying to focus on the home inspection and growing that business part-time is a little bit of a challenge with the time that I have.
Okay, but let's just understand that at the current moment, financially, you have to do that. Otherwise, you would have already quit the HVAC job, right? So financially, we have to still do that. So we're left with whatever time is allotted to work both in and on that business.
So one of the things struggling is networking, and, by the time I get out of work, going, because really with the home inspection, my main target is realtors, ever since COVID, realtors aren't really in the office anymore. So trying to get these realtors, sending out emails or phone calls or networking with them one-on-one, face-to-face, is the time frame is a little difficult for me.
Because of your time or because of their time that they allot for that?
I think both, but mostly my time. Because,
Okay.
by the time I'm done with my main job, it's a little later in the afternoon or evening.
So, Ben, how much time do you have each week to dedicate to this business? Let's you're working full time as HVAC. You're trying to form this work in this inspector business, home inspection business. What is the actual time allotment that you can dedicate to this right now?
Really 4 p.m. on.
Okay, 5 days a week. What about weekends? What is
5 days? 5 days a week, sometimes a Saturday or Sunday, depending on what I got going on for that weekend with my personal life.
Right. And where are you fitting in your personal life Monday through Friday and Saturday and Sunday?
It's really with, my wife and I schedule, we have opposite work schedules. So the weekend is our free time together.
Okay. So when it's free time together, it has to be dedicated time for each other and also dedicated time for the business, right? So in reality, from 4 to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, you work on the business?
Yeah, 10. Yep.
All right. And Saturdays and Sundays,
10,
how much time are you actually giving to the business?
Probably between Saturday and Sunday, probably about 6 hours or so, 6-7 hours.
Okay. So I'm going to say it's 6 hours, 6 days a week. So you do have about 36 hours that you could dedicate as time to the business. Do you realize you have that much time?
No, because I don't know where to prioritize my time. Correct.
Good. Okay. But first is knowing how much. Go ahead, Adam.
One more question. What time do you leave for the HVAC job?
I leave and I'm at the job site by 7 a.m.
Okay. And what time do you wake up?
About 5:30.
Okay. So you have an hour and a half in between to shower, eat something, do anything. Is there any of that beginning day that you have to work on the inspection business, whether it be 10 minutes, an hour? Is there any time in the beginning?
If I force myself, I'm sure I can make time. Yes.
Okay. How much time, if you forced yourself, do you think you could make?
Probably about a half hour or so.
Okay. Half an hour. Wow. We just added 3 hours a week.
Or wake up earlier.
Oh, well, wake up earlier but it will be very difficult. If you're already running your business to 10, hopefully you have a little bit of a personal life with the wife in between that and sleeping.
Right.
And then you got to go to bed. It's really going to be hard to get up much, much early. But could you? You absolutely could. Now, I will highly advise you never to compromise sleep for grinding it out. It does not work out for anybody. Okay, so whatever amount of sleep, whether it's 6 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever you need, make sure you continually get that. But you could certainly be more efficient in the morning when you wake up and say, all right, I'm going to give a half an hour. So I'll give you, for instance, I give half an hour to 45 minutes every single morning to engagement on LinkedIn. Every single morning. I was just on vacation every single morning. I do that no matter what. And it's just a thing that I do in the morning because that's the only time I can actually give to that. So let's just hypothetically say you gave that half an hour a day. You added 3 more hours. Now we're up to 40 hours, basically.
That's like a full-time job.
That is a full-time job, not a part-time job anymore, right?
Right.
How does that feel just realizing that for a moment?
It feels good, but you don't realize it until it's put out, yeah.
Because a lot of times business owners, and this is all business owners, regardless if they're working full-time or part-time in their business, they all feel this constraint of time, okay? And time is just a way of measuring things and events and series in life, right? The key is, and we talk about this all the time, and I talk about this a lot, is about attention management and where you direct your attention in the time that you have, right? Because if you start to look at all of your events, like when you're doing a home inspection report, how much time does that typically take you to do on a standard report?
Because I'm not doing it a lot, it takes me a good 3 hours or so, 3-4 hours.
Okay, good. So 3 to 4 hours, equals one report. Reports are the delivery of what you sold, right? That's part of the delivery. So if you do how many inspections a week?
Roughly around 1 inspection a month right now.
Okay, 1 inspection a month. So you know that you have to dedicate 3 hours post that inspection. But you also offer a convenience being available from 4 to 10 p.m. to do a home inspection, right? Because you could go out at 4 o'clock, meet somebody, and then you could do that report, right?
Yep.
And if you just prioritized 1 inspection a day, how long does the actual inspection take you?
And that average inspection on an average size home takes about 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay, so there's our 6 hours of working time right there. Right now, that is a priority for a certain number of days of the week, right? If you wanted to work in your business for 3 hours doing a home inspection and 3 hours doing the report, that's one of the days that you have available. And then working on the business is the prospecting piece, right? And the sales piece. And that could be done on the days that you don't do inspection right now. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So if you dedicate your attention to specific buckets, so like let's say you did inspections Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You could do 3 a week and you can get all 3 reports done. Then you have Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday and Sunday to do the prospecting and the sales piece. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because that is your priority right now.
Now, what I would do is I would compartmentalize the 3 sections, prospecting, sales, and delivery. And the best way to do that is just split them in thirds, 33% to each. And what that means is you would then dedicate each weekly schedule 13 hours to prospecting. And prospecting would be meeting with those real estate agents and networking, getting on the phone, going on social media, whatever that is. 13 hours of selling, okay? Actually saying, hey, I'd like to do this thing, and 13 hours of delivering, meaning doing home inspections. And based on the math that we just did, that would allow you to inspect and report 2 per week. So if we just compartmentalize that, you would have a capacity to go and inspect and write a report for 2 a week. That's 104 per year. That's a pretty stellar business, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would give you 26 hours a week to prospect and sell. Here's the beautiful thing. If you actually delivered 104 inspections this year, would you be able to hire somebody to work on your business?
Yeah, I don't know if I would, though.
Okay, well, you would have to find time. So would you be able to quit your HVAC job?
If I had 102, you said 102 inspections a year, I would be able to quit probably my HVAC job, yeah.
So do you see how the priorities now line up is once we actually cause the problem of I have so many sales, I can't take any more on, we can either hire somebody to do the other work and keep the HVAC job, or we can quit the HVAC job and give that time back to this business And this is how we start to prioritize, where do I spend my time? Because that is the one asset you can't make more of. So you want to make sure that you are compartmentalizing those 3 sections, but then actually doing it. Now, here's the problem. In the beginning, if you don't prospect frequently enough, you have nobody to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means if you have no sales calls this week, you have 26 hours to prospect. So we just move those numbers to the left column or the right column based on what we're doing. And if you had so many sales appointments this week and you couldn't prospect, well, guess what? You're going to prospect less. Okay. And if all of a sudden now you had to do 4 inspections this week, well, you'd have to either prospect or sell a little bit less. And you would start to gauge your days based on the productivity that you did. Now, what happens to most people is they do a good job prospecting, which means they have to do more selling. And then they do such a good job selling, they have to do more delivering, doing your inspections in your case, that there's no time for prospecting. And then a month goes by and they're like, how come I have no business? Because you didn't spend any time prospecting. So what you do have to do is be very disciplined with keeping those compartments available. They can shift to the left and shift to the right, meaning go up in time and down in time, but they can never be eliminated. All 3 of those things must be done every single day. You have to prospect, you have to sell, and you have to deliver every single day. Or at least be focusing your attention on, am I going to do that? And if I can't, what am I doing to allow myself to do the next stage? Does that help you on where to focus your energy?
Yeah, I just got to put it into play. Yep.
So how would you put it into play starting next week?
I would be focusing more on social media for, the time frame that I have, prospecting now with realtors and other people, promoting myself more on social media, because that is where another part where I struggle is like what to post.
How much time would you give to that, Ben?
I can give a third, right? A third of my time available.
If that's the only thing you're going to do, you could. And then what day would you give to that?
Days that I don't have inspections.
Okay. Which one is that?
Right now, I don't have an inspection lined up. So
there you go. So what you would have to actually do is plan your week out ahead of time. Because what you want to do is be able to arrive on Monday morning and know exactly what you're doing and when you're doing it. You don't want to get to Monday and be like, let's see, do I have any inspections? I don't. I could prospect or I could sell, and let me go make a coffee first and then we'll figure it out. You just want to open your calendar, like, this is the time to do that thing. I'm going to do it. In the beginning of your business, you can schedule your week out, and then by tomorrow morning, you'll have to reschedule it because new things happen. Prospecting went well.
Yeah.
You got a sales appointment. I got to change my times. So what I'm telling you is you will have to be best friends with your calendar. Okay. That is your partner in business right now. Your calendar will be like, hey, Ben, guess what you got to do now? Time to go over to Huntington and do an inspection. Okay, here we go. Can't prospect now. Sorry, real estate agent. Can't make the networking meeting because I'm doing a home inspection. Okay, and then you adjust the following day to compensate for that. Okay, so that is the way, is by you being really rigid about, I have time on my calendar. This is what I'm going to use it for. That will then cause you to understand what needs to be prioritized next. The actions that you take today will dictate what's on your schedule tomorrow and next week. So instead of figuring out what should I prioritize, do the work that will tell you what to prioritize. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, Ben, I'm going to throw something else in there. When are you taking care of Ben? You can't run a business and work full time and run your business full time if Ben's not taking care of Ben.
Yep.
You have to
It's true.
find,
It's true.
right?
It's a struggle. It is definitely a struggle.
This is like, if you use the rule of thirds, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter, but to take care of you is not going to be another whole third that you need, right? You have to figure out what is that. And like we said before, sleep is essential. Like, I would not disrupt your sleep, because most likely you're going to get only about 5 to 6 hours of sleep anyway, based on the calendar we just set up. Because by the time you wind down and you fall asleep, you're going to wind up with about 6 hours. You have to make the time for Ben to eat and eat well, and you have to make the time for Ben to exercise and take care of himself. So in there, what is the most reasonable amount of time for you to take care of yourself?
I function pretty well off of not much sleep, So 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep, I'm pretty good, I always have been. And then the rest of the time can be focused on the business.
But where's the time for Ben?
See, he missed it.
You think I was going to let you get away with that, man? Come on, I'm not letting you get away with that. You got to answer my question. When are you you have to give me 3 times a week that you're going to take time for Ben. And I don't care if it's exercise. I don't care if it's meditation. I don't care if it's just going for a walk or doing something. I need to know that Ben has time for himself.
I'm always thinking the big picture. I'm never thinking about myself. That's the problem.
Well, and that's something that I would encourage you to reframe, because as business owners, we often don't think of ourselves when we get starting out in business, especially when we just start, we don't think about ourselves, but the most important person is you for your business and your life. The most important person is you. And that means you have to take care of you before you could take care of everything else. I want you to reframe it and think about it as taking care of me is as important as delivering on a sale that I sold.
Well, if it wasn't for me, I wouldn't have a business, right?
Right, exactly. So that's where you have to take care of you so that you could sustain that business. Because until you're working full-time in your business and on your business, and you don't have the HVAC thing, you're going to need to make sure you know how to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you may not get there. You may burn yourself out. And that's what we try to create. And that's what we gave you time tonight. We gave you back your time in figuring out how to run the priorities. The goal is that by giving you that time, you recognize that you can really take a half hour to 45 minutes almost every single day and still do the other 3 main things in your business. And those 3 priorities being the prospecting, the sales, and the delivery. And if you recognize that, take advantage of the time you just got back and don't let it stress you out. Let it work for you.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Definitely going to have to think of that.
So I want to do a little math equation for you, okay? All right, we all have 168 hours per week, 7 times 24, okay? You just told me that you sleep on average 42 hours per week, and I gave you a little bit more time. I gave you 5.5 hours, okay? So 42 hours per week. With the business, we identified that you can give it 39 hours. With your HVAC, you said you have to be there from 7 to 5, so I added in some commute time, so you're spending about 11 hours a day, 55 hours a week at HVAC. That leaves you an additional 32 hours of unused time per week.
32 hours?
Of unused time. That's 4.5 hours every day. Now, you're going to have to take a shower. You're going to have to take a shit. You're going to have to hopefully shave. You're going to have to hopefully have a little bit of fun. But you actually have 4.5 hours of personal time every single day. Imagine where that time is gone. I know some of my time goes to doom scrolling and just doing nonsense.
I do a lot of that, unfortunately. So
we all do, it's super addictive. And sometimes it's a good thing. We need to dumb shit I'm going to look at. But the thing is if we looked at it that way, you have 4.5 hours, 7 days a week that you can take care of Ben. You can doom scroll. You can take a shower. You can eat food. There's actually more time available to you if you make your calendar your best friend. And when you see it in black and white and you look at it, if you literally scheduled, here's when I'm going to sleep, and here's when I'm waking up, and here's when I'm going to be at HVAC, and here's the times I'm going to go to my business, you'd be like, look at all that blank time I have left. And you could make time for date night. You could make time to go to the gym. You could make time to be like, I'm going to cook dinner tonight. It's going to be tough, and you're going to have to be regimented in getting to each and every thing, but you can actually do it. So what I would challenge you to do is really take a look at a week. And how would I build my calendar to do all of it? Because you actually can, my friend.
And remember, you're going to get more efficient too with everything that you do. The more you practice it, the more efficient you're going to get. So you'll be able to even use that calendar more than you're going to be able to use it right now. And that's the goal. And that's the thing you should be challenging yourself too, is that, not only will I get efficient and I can actually do more in time, I may need less time to do it all. And I may get 5 hours a day, and all of that may come to a head and be like, hey, look at this. I can do all of it. And that's what we want.
Ben, we're gonna wrap this up, but here's what I'll do. I would challenge you to go ahead, build out a calendar for a week, and then feel free, you know how to get in touch with Tom and I. Message us back. Let us know what you came up against or any questions, and we can hopefully help you on a little further with that. And we wish you the best of luck. Everybody go in the show notes. Check out Ben's company. If you need an inspection, you know someone needs inspection, or if you are or know a realtor, connect with them and help him to help you. So thanks again, Ben.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.